Now we're going to start to dig into a little bit of detail and some example code. And the easiest thing to start with in PLSQL is an anonymous procedure. As I said, it is a procedure without a name. The procedure with no name. It is not stored in the database because it's only used once. If you wanted to store it, you'd have to give it a name and then it would become a named procedure. It cannot be executed again because you haven't stored it, just to reiterate. Here is an example. Here are the various different sections. There's a section at the top where you say declare and you put variables in it. A variable has a data type and you basically say, well, this is a bucket that I can store this type of data in. At the end of the anonymous procedure, you have a little quirky front slash character that Oracle SQL, PLSQL uses to tell SQL+ that it wants to execute the procedure. You don't have to do that inside SQL Developer because you simply highlight the entire structure or basically from the top of declare down to end and you just execute it. And the section in the middle, not to bounce backwards and forwards between the slides, but this section here between begin and end and this chunk in here is what we're showing here. The entire begin end structure is known as a block of code. It says go and execute some PLSQL statements, and inside there you can have another embedded block. This is where it starts to become modular, where you embed blocks in others and you pass things back to blocks that depend on the results of the things that are executed inside them. So you've got nesting. And going a little further, we're actually highlighting the begin-end section of a section within the section. So we've got the blue section inside the red section. Blocks executed within blocks. And here are the various exception traps within those blocks. The one that's nested, and then the nested one creates an error perhaps and passes it to the one above it. What you're doing in raising the error is you're saying that you're handling the error and you're doing it in a specific way and you're raising it to the procedure that calls it in the first place. A block with no exception terminates the current block and passes the exception to the calling block, which, as I said, could be something as simple as a SQL+ instantiation. Your window where you typed in SQL+ and you executed the block, produced an error, came back to SQL+, said you can't do that. As these square brackets imply, is that you don't have to have the declare section at the top. You don't have to declare variables that you're going to use in here because you may not be using variables. But you have to have the begin and end section, first begin, last end. You don't have to have an exception loop or an exception trap, but it will be sending errors up to the call procedure, which could cause you problems down the line. It's best to trap all your errors. That's essentially an anonymous procedure. Let's go and look at a simple example. And here I have an example. The set server output on is a special setting in SQL+ that allows me to push output from this command here. dbms output.putline is a special procedure inside a package called dbms output. This is an Oracle provided package. This is a package that if we went back into the manuals and we go back to the SQL packages, types and references to show you how and what things and where they are. Control F, dbms output. It's in this manual. You will find in here all the different types of things that you can do with it. We'll have a list of the different basically subprograms. They're basically procedures inside the dbms output package. Enable, get lines, new line, put line, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go through the details, just too much. But essentially, what you can do is you can put output out to the screen if you set this on. There are a few other pieces as well that we won't go into just yet. So, I want to run this in SQL+. I can run it in SQL Developer, and we'll try that shortly. But let's go to here, and we've already set up in SQL+. I'm going to connect to my shows user. I'm going to paste this into here. I'm going to set server output on, and at the end of it I'm going to set it off. Don't necessarily have to do that. What I'm doing is I'm saying that dbms output put line output will be sent to the output. What am I doing here? I'm actually declaring a variable, and I'm saying for I count from 1 to 10. This is the way Oracle does a for loop. And it's simply going to say counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's show this in action. An anonymous procedure counting from 1 to 10. Counting from 1 to 10, 2 to 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's continue this topic in the next movie.